Hi, everybody. This is Lewis Porter Jr. Welcome back to my channel. Sorry for the confusion and the ridiculousness of our little issue we're having, but now this is going to be our recorded video. Rob, I'm going to get it right, Twohy has given us
Boom.
the pleasure to come up and talk about publishing and games and crazy stuff. And I'll get the real juicy stuff because I know a lot of people were I'd say upset, motivated, um, perturbed by the comment I put out a couple like last week. So I decided, hey, let's have a talk with someone who's actually doing it, who's actually doing publishing, so we can ask some tough questions and see what people think. So Rob, give me a little information about yourself, the background stuff, the stuff I should know.
Yeah, so I was a stand-up comedian, professional stand-up comedian. Nobody that anybody watching would have heard of, which is why, I wasn't a celebrity, but I did do that job for 15 years. And then I had a liver transplant in 2014, which caused me to stop doing that job. So I moved back to my hometown, Spokane, Washington, and I found Fantasy Grounds, and I really fell in love with it because I've been a D&D player all the way back to 81 because I'm super old. And what happened was I just started monkeying with Fantasy Grounds and got into some games and started learning about it. And along came the Dungeon Masters Guild in January of 2016, and I made a couple things and put them up there like pay what you want. I didn't know what I was doing. And Matt McElroy, who's still with One Bookshelf, sent me an email saying, "Hey, this is kind of some interesting stuff for Fantasy Grounds. Nobody's doing this. You should put a price on it." So I put it for like $1, right? And
Right.
then like the first day I made 55 cents, and I was like, "Whoa, this could be something, right?"
I know
And
that feeling.
then the next day I made like 13 cents, and I'm calling my friend on the phone like, "I'm rich," and then that actually just started snowballing. And the first year, I always make my numbers public. I want people to be encouraged. I'm not trying to brag to people. I'm trying to show people, hey, you can do this. So my first year, I made almost just under $700 for the whole year. Last year, I made 110 grand.
Right. Now,
So
now that's before they took their cut or after they took their cut?
that's money I made. So I sold, you know, probably. I mean, it's not exactly 50%
Right,
because I
right.
I have my own stuff for fit, but then I cut it with other
Oh
people, and
yeah, I know.
there's
I
like
totally understand. Totally
there's like
understand.
120 people involved. But for real, that's like a real number, 120. Um, so I generally over the course of 5 years, the amount of money that I sell on DMs Guild, I end up getting about 30% of it after the other 20% gets
Right.
pushed out to other people. So in 5 years, I've grossed about $600,000 of sales, and then I've pocketed 200,000.
That's
I'm,
not
I'm
that's
gonna I'm gonna hit 200,000 like in the next 3 or 4 days.
look at that's not bad at all. I mean, I know I haven't done that. I played on the other side of the pond. I've been through drive-through for a long time. I said I just is a hobby. It's not a full-time gig for me, so it's just something that I say keep me off the streets. For me, the money that I use, funny enough, I went into real estate. A lot of people know that buy real estate, and so I was like, hey, you can make money doing games and buy real estate and rent it out. That's crazy. That's a great idea. So that kind of like now has been my transition into that.
Yeah,
And so DM's Guild. Okay, so I'm gonna make some people mad, but I don't feel bad about it. But
that's
okay.
all right. Go for it.
Um, well, Watsy going to 5E. Well, first of all, Watsy going to 4E was a bad mistake. That's just admitted. And then going to 5 looks to be so much better. And what I saw was interesting. It just didn't appeal to me. I think I've gotten to the point where like, okay, that's just not the game for me. I was a 3-5 guy. I like 3-5. I like Pathfinder. I like that way, and it felt well to me. 5 seemed to be a very serious divergent from that. So either you are a fan of the settings themselves, or you're a fan of the game mechanics.
Yeah,
And it's like, look, I'm a publisher. I make game mechanics. I don't. That part is important. I like the story, but the mechanics what interest me to do cool things with. So that's why I only did like I think we did 3 products on DM's Guild, and one of them we did was a ship that I gave away for free for one of the little things we did like pay what you want. People have given us money. They've downloaded them a ton of times. I'm like whatever. We did a conversion of a class we did for Pathfinder for this that didn't really do that well, didn't sell that well. And I was like, and I got to bet I didn't promote it very well.
yeah,
And it's I've noticed the difference between DMs Guild over drive-through. Drive-through seems like to me that you basically develop your own fans, you develop your fan base, and you basically go from there and just keep adding on. On DMs Guild, the fan base is already there. They're gonna come, they're gonna buy, and there's so many people buying. I'm always like, the quality stuff, of course, is gonna float to the top, but like, how do you guys? I mean, how do you develop your own name, your own brand? I mean, that's gonna
So
be a problem.
I have a bit of a unique situation because 100% of what I do and what my team does is related to Fantasy Grounds.
Right.
We don't do PDFs. We either make our own stuff or we convert other authors' PDFs. And in some cases, people have come to me, they don't even know what Fantasy Grounds is. They've never heard of it. They just please take my thing and make more money. And I go, okay, great, let's do it. Because all of the stuff that the team does, we take our standard business model for conversions is we take their PDF, we convert that information to the Fantasy Grounds format, upload it as a separate item on DM's Guild, and we do that for no cost, and then we just split the profits. So it literally is found money for both sides because the authors already created the material. They just go here, and then we take it, do our thing, put a thing up there, and everybody starts making more money. And it's a brilliant thing. And so I've been doing that for almost 4 years. I started on the DMs Guild at the very beginning, but I didn't start doing conversions for people until like the next year. So in addition to that side of it, we also have 20 team members, and there's about 6 or 7 of them that make their own material. And the main thing that people are excited about for that is people that make extensions that alter the functionality of Fantasy Grounds so it can do fantastic weird things
Right.
as it relates to 5e. So those guys make more money because they obviously get a bigger cut. I'm the guy who started out as an actor in Hollywood. This is a metaphor, not a real thing. And then I became the producer. I don't act anymore. I don't really do conversions because I'm managing this. We got 406 titles. So the bulk of my day is spent like anymore for about the last year and a half or 2 years. I spend all my time answering emails and supporting that whole house of cards and hoping that it doesn't cave in, right?
Well, I wouldn't call it a house of cards. You've
Yeah,
legitimately made money.
maybe not a house of cards, but that house, and it's a brick house, and I just hope it doesn't turn into wood and then straw, and then the wolf comes and blows it down. I don't want that to happen. So,
Okay.
but and so there's 20 members of my team currently who all make money, and then there's about 100, over 100 DMs Guild authors that I've worked with throughout the years that send me say, hey, I got a new one, do it, go do your thing, and then I just put their name in a commission, the money comes in. So that's the whole system we have. And I didn't mean for this to happen. I got sick and I had to come home, and I had a liver transplant, and I had to quit my job of being a stand-up comic, and I started playing with Fantasy Grounds, and it just all sort of happened literally almost by accident.
That's not
And
the
I
first time to
happened, yeah, it is. And I found the DMs Guild on January 29th, so like 4 weeks after it started, because I think it started January 1st of 2016.
right.
So I literally dropped into the right place at the right time, and it just started snowballing. And then now it's just like I'm saying this in a good way, but it's out of control. It's just out of control.
Well, okay. So talking to a guy, I've had the pleasure of publishing for a very, very long time, and to me, it's like you've noticed Fantasy Grounds, Roll20. I mean, because of the pandemic, they just shot like right to the roof.
Yeah.
And I always thought to be a little slower developing because it's like, I don't know. Do you want to play? Do you want to play this game? Like, I don't know if I'd play the game online with somebody else. It's like there's a lot of things going on there, but it seems like people are like, no, we want to play like this. We want to play. We want to play. I don't care how I play. I want to get some people in there. We've got the adventure. Let's play. And
Right.
that has happened, which, I'm an old guy. I'm 50, and I wouldn't have thought this would have transformed the game so quickly.
Yeah, and it's funny because COVID definitely had an impact on people becoming more aware of virtual tabletops by necessity. But I was a guy who was already doing that before COVID, just because it's hard to find people to physically come and play at your house or whatever. And I like doing that. And as a matter of fact, some Fantasy Grounds users even use, they open their laptop, they have Fantasy Grounds on, they use it for like the combat tracker and stuff, but they actually play physically with minis with their friends. Yeah. So, but it's just a wonderful thing that's happened. And like I said, my favorite part of 5th edition is the fact that DMs Guild exists, because this is how I make my living now.
Well,
And
well,
yeah,
do you think? Okay, well, a couple questions from me. Uh, do you specialize in just doing adventures?
no, as a matter of fact, uh, like I said, we do the conversions for other authors because they've already done it. There's no reason not to give it to me, and I'll make a thing and we'll make more money and you'll get more exposure. And that probably is item wise the bulk of the business. But where the money is, so people get very angry when I say this, and I'm gonna say it anyway.
Oh, I like
The
this.
money is actually not in adventures, because that's
What?
what everybody's doing.
Where's
So
the money?
adventures, I don't mean this to be disrespectful, but adventures are a dime a dozen. That's all anybody's doing is adventures. Where the money is tools like NPCs or classes or races, or stuff that isn't story is where the money is. Apparently, this is just my I have, so Lewis, I have meticulous records. I have every single day of sales since January 29th, 2016. I have every day in a spreadsheet, every
Wow.
day.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I study this, and I say what makes money, what doesn't make money, and stuff
So
like
wait a
that.
minute. You're saying the magic words that a lot of people are going to want to kill you for, because as I've been told, and even I know, doing adventures are mandatory because everybody wants an adventure. Everybody wants adventures, and that's what you're
Yes.
telling us. And we know that adventures are horrible because you do them once. The artwork usually is a one-shot deal, especially those maps, and you can't recoup your money from them. And that's why
Yeah.
most companies go out of business. So it's like you're saying, you are saying the truth of saying it's not worth doing that to do the
I
actual.
would never. Well, that's putting words in my mouth. I
Oh,
wouldn't say it's not. I wouldn't say it's not worth it,
but
because the more exposure you can get for yourself, the more you can make a name for yourself. Like there's some people on the DM Guild that make crazy good adventures. They're awesome, and I've worked with some of these people, and their products are just fantastic.
wait,
And
let me
so
pimp out a friend's name. Rich Lescafleur.
I don't know that name,
Rich is a guy. He's down south with us. He does a lot of stuff. Espergenesis is his line. He's doing it with
Okay.
what are their names? Alligator Alley Entertainment. They're
Yeah.
friends of ours.
And
I
I
know.
mean, I could mention some names, but then I'll leave somebody out and piss other people off, so I don't want to do that. But there's just, and their names, like if I said them, you go, I know those names. But anyway, the point is that some people make some excellent adventures, and I'm not saying adventures are bad. I'm just saying that's the commonplace. That's 95% of what everybody does.
Hmm.
So it's not wrong, it's not bad. It's just that's the common thing. So the uncommon thing is what people get attracted to, like, and this is just based off 5 years of literally doing spreadsheets and calculating graphs and data. Like I'm so into that. So the best money makers are things that I would classify as tools rather than adventures. So like I said, classes, races, NPCs, skills, anything that's not story is basically people are attracted to that. And the reason is because that's what's very rare on DM's Guild, right? That's what you don't find the most of. And
Really?
that's why, yeah. So that's just my, and again, I have to, I'm saying this is just my opinion. I mean, I do have data to back it up, but
Right.
I don't want people to go, "Oh well, Rob Twohy said adventures are dead." No, I never said any such thing. Don't take it
Are
that
you
way.
sure he didn't say that? I
I'm
will
sure
tell
I
people
didn't
that
say it.
he didn't say that, but I'm saying that he said that. So it's a total lie. So you can run with that. Okay, so, but then here's a crazier question. So adventures are still important. We both agree with that.
Yes.
With the skills that's going on with you guys, why hasn't anyone else done a living campaign? Because to me, it seems like, well, the adventures are plentiful. That would be something that you could easily kind of put together. There's a rule book for it. I know Baldwin Games has done it for years, but I always wondered, it's like, and then D&D themselves do it. That would be a way to gain people outside of maybe the DMs Guild, that you get a new fan base. So you tell the
Yeah,
story, but
I don't know, because I'm not an expert in that. I mean, when you say living campaign, do you mean?
organized play, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
so well, there's Adventures League, and
Right.
those, and that used to be a thing they gave away for free, and then they changed it to a pay model, which I don't necessarily have a problem with, because I think the people that make those adventures should get paid. But those are part of the DMs Guild too. You buy all the AL stuff on DMs Guild now.
Right.
And they actually have a rule. They the Adventures League specifically, and these are the only part that do it. You can't make a Fantasy Grounds adventure for an Adventures League and sell it separately. They have to be packaged together, and that's why you don't see a lot of those with Fantasy Grounds component, because either A, the author has to know how to do it, and do it themselves, which some do. The other alternative would be to cut the Fantasy Grounds author into a percentage of your sales, including the PDF, which nobody would be willing to do. That's crazy. Or pay the Fantasy Grounds adventure maker a flat fee, which for me wouldn't be worth my time, because I use my time, make more money, but there's some hungry kids out there that you might find that'll do it for you. But see, that's the problem with it. Now, what we do is we make a product and we sell it separately than the adventure. So it doesn't even touch because a lot of authors are worried, or like, I don't want to cut you in on my PDF sales. Well, we don't even touch that. We don't. That's a separate thing altogether.
Your Fantasy Grounds, that's where you focus. That's where the money's
right.
Okay. That's a very.
And so, yeah. So Adventures League kind of puts the kibosh on that. So when you go to DMs Guild and type in and search for Adventures League, some of them do have Fantasy Grounds components, but a lot of them don't because of that rule.
I'm surprised like no one's, well, I mean, for me, I'd be like, okay, look, so, well, I guess since it all is really related back to DMs Guild, you don't want to give up more of your 50%, because at some point it just gets
exactly
small. What if, I mean, would you, okay, better question, would you do something like that on drive-thru? Could you do something like that on drive-thru?
Well, you mean Adventures League?
Well, not even, well, just adventures. Someone says, hey, I've got these D&D adventures. I don't want to sell on DMG because because to me, if you're a new publisher, DMs Guild's perfect for you.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff. If you're an old guy like me, it's going to be hard for you to convert over and kind of jump in. I know guys who have, but I've noticed they're not doing.
So here's the thing with drive-through RPG. When speaking about my forte, what I do with Fantasy Grounds, if you publish on DMs Guild, there's a built-in contract there. You don't have to do anything special. You can just publish.
Right.
And OBS and WotC give Smiteworks, the company that makes Fantasy Grounds, they give them 10% out of their end.
Okay.
Now, if you want to publish anything for Fantasy Grounds on drive-through RPG, you have to get a publisher's agreement with them. So you have to go through that process.
Right.
And then anything you publish, you have to send them a quarterly check for some higher percentage. And that's out of your end, not out of. So even though you might be making 70%, you drop 25 or 26% off that, you're down below what you'd be making on DMs Guild anyway. So that's why you don't see it.
Gotcha.
Yes, you can do that, but it's not worth the effort based on the rigmarole, red tape, bureaucracy that goes on behind it. And they Smiteworks got together with DMs Guild to set up that thing to make it easy for everybody so they could just do that.
So, because my thing was thinking is like, eventually you think that other systems would want to jump into that if they could figure out a way. Because I've got to wonder, why wouldn't, for lack of a better term, why wouldn't Paizo do that? Why wouldn't?
Yeah. So here's why. Because Paizo publishes directly with Smiteworks Fantasy Grounds on their website store.
Gotcha.
And so does Wizards, and they have licenses with almost every RPG. But you do see some third parties. I'll give you a good example. AAW Games.
Good guys.
They publish Fantasy Grounds stuff on drive-through, and you can go look it up and buy it there. But they then have to send their quarterly check to Smiteworks for the amount that they sell.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, and for them, it's worth it because they're a big publisher and they do a lot of stuff, right? So
right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So that's an interesting. It's kind of an interesting setup because like the small guy, it's not like you're left out. It's like, look, you can do it, but here's the playground you're playing. Here's the
yes, yeah.
And as long as you can understand that, you can do very well. So, because to me, it's like I would think that someone by now, even a pseudo independent, like another lower level third party guy would say, okay, I'm going to build stories and adventure. I'm going to build my world using Fantasy Grounds by doing adventures because.
Yeah, if they were specifically doing that, they would probably just get a publisher's agreement and publish directly with Fantasy Grounds on their website.
Gotcha.
And do that business deal, because the one thing about doing that is obviously you have Fantasy Grounds user. That's the first place they go is the store there.
Right.
DM's Guild is awesome because it's a known thing and people know about Fantasy Grounds, but it's specifically only Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. That's all you can do.
Right.
So
And,
it's a very, very niche thing,
and,
but it's,
but it,
I've done well.
but it's also the best niche you can have because you're the biggest game company pushing people through their system. And by the way, if you play Fantasy Grounds, here's some lovely stuff you can pick up. And it's like, oh, that's
Yeah.
great. That's kind of, it's very
Yeah.
easy. So, wow. So why won't they? I guess you can't bundle them together. Yeah, that's to me. It's like that would be the thing. Like, why don't they just bundle them together? I don't.
You mean Adventures League?
Yeah.
I don't know their rule. I don't know why they decided to do that, because our common practice is to take the author's creation,
Right.
create a Fantasy Grounds version of it, and then the author keeps his PDF over here, and we sell the new Fantasy Grounds over here. But with AL, you can't do that, and I've never figured out why they have that reason. I know there's a reason.
Right.
No one's ever just told me what it is. I've never bothered to.
And to me, it's like I'm so used to, when I usually do deals with people, I usually take anywhere between 10 to 15%. That's always been my cut. It just saves a lot of time. Even when I'm on drive-through, it's just just easy math. I would personally, I wish the percentage was less than 35% because I'm not exclusive, and I wish it was. When I first got on, it was 15%. So back in the 2000s, it wasn't a lot of money, and over time you've seen it's like, holy cow, that's a lot of money. But I get it. They are the main player in town. They are the really only player in town, and they gobbled up their competition in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And it's the one thing I will say that does upset me. This is purely from an old guy perspective. I wish they had more information on the back end to see more things.
Yeah, so I've been frustrated with that. And I'm a pain in their ass. I must email them like 3 times a month. Like, what come on. And they have greatly improved a lot of the reporting. Imagine having 5 years of information and 406 things for sale. When I run that nightly report, it churns for 30 minutes.
Right.
But it used to be where I would run that report and it would fail and it would fail and it would fail.
Yeah.
And I'd almost there was 1 or 2 times where I got to the next day after 24 hours, I still didn't get. So that's greatly improved because the last time I complained about that, ever since the day I complained, I'm not saying it was me, but by coincidence, I've never had to run that report more than once each night now. But like I say, I'm a freak and I keep spreadsheets and I have graphs and I do slide rules. And I mean, I love numbers and crunching and I mean, I have, I don't know if I can share my screen here with you. Can I do that?
I assume you
Share
could.
screen.
Yeah.
Host disabled participant screen sharing. Well, there you go.
Well,
But I have every day's accounting.
nope. Anyone can share.
Okay, here we go.
Everyone can share.
Share my screen. Okay, let's see if I can do this.
Multiple can do this. Oh, multiples? Oh no. One at a time. All right, I get it. All right, yeah. Why can't you do this? This is
Okay. Do you see DM's Guild here on
Yes.
on the screen? Okay. So let me go here to. So no, that's. Oh, so yeah. So I have every item, how many copies it's sold, date published, how many sell per week, who the developer was. I mean, I got crazy stuff. I have. Oh, it's not gonna let me. Oh man, it's not. Oh, this is so. So I have. Yeah. So here's literally every day of sales. So I have January 29th, I sold 2 items. I made 55 cents. Next day, I made
big
13
time,
cents.
baby. Big time.
Yeah, and I did not start doing this right away. I went back about after about 18 months, and I did every day and caught up. And now I go down to yesterday here, and yesterday I made $258. And I calculate like average last 7 days, and then I have my total. So I passed 200,000. Today, last night, I passed 200,000, and that's all time. So if you go here, you see I made $600 in the first year, 10 grand the next year, 30 grand the next year, 34 grand the next year, 110 last year, and I'm pacing on 93 for this year.
You do know.
So
You do know. First of all, you do know these are some very large numbers. I just want you to know that.
yeah, I agree, but I know that I'm not even close to being the top guy on DMs Guild. Not
Okay.
even
So,
close.
all right. So then, all right. Then let's talk some theory, some nice business theory. Because I've always when it was much smaller, I knew I was in the top, 15, 20%, no problem. And I knew kind of roughly where I was compared to everybody else. But now that so many big companies have come in and the numbers are so skewed, I always say, what's the top? What is the top? How much more is there to go? How much more money is there out there? Because
Yeah, I've never I've never flat out asked because I know I would just be met with, yeah, we're not going to tell you that.
right.
But I really wish there was like they don't have to give away names or give away even
Right.
specific numbers, but I would really like to know, like, where am I in that?
Right.
Oh, you know,
And they used to tell you like per number. Like at one point, I was like number, good Lord, I was in the 50s and then I got into the 40s. And this is when they had 1,000 sellers on drive through. And I'm like, okay, I
yeah,
know I'm in the top, I'm in the top of that. Great. But like, I didn't know how far I was from the top and how many
yeah,
times. It's like, if they could give you at least a rough, and I get why they don't. But at the same time, it's like, I don't, how big is DM's Guild? Like, look, if you
right.
look
Like,
at your numbers, DM's Guild is quite large, much larger than I even thought. But when you saw those numbers, I'm like, those numbers can't be right. And I really sat down and thought about it. I was like, well, what if they are? What
yeah,
if
no,
they are?
I think the biggest chunk of money that Wizards of the Coast has made in the last 3 or 4 years is DM's Guild.
Well,
I think they
this
make
might
way
happen.
more money off that than they do selling hard copy books and whatever.
I,
That's only a guess. I don't have
no,
the, I don't, yeah,
I don't think anyone will ever know. But I think we all agree that yeah, they're doing very well.
yeah,
I was amazed how well they're. I always go back to when I first got on this thing, a billion years ago in 2002, when Mutants and Masterminds had just come out. They got the license out. Our first product we did with them was called Power Corrupts. The first day we sold 189 copies of that thing.
yeah, that's crazy.
Right, and as we're talking, it's 2002, before
Right.
Twitter, and literally, I'll never forget this. Monty Cook released the book the same, like the day, like 6 hours later, and we were number one, and then he was like number 50. A couple hours later, number 17. A couple hours later,
Yeah.
number two. You're just like, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like,
Yeah.
I know how much money is in there, kind of, but it's like, how much money is he making? And then he blew me out at one, and we never got it back. And I
Right.
always wondered, it's like, is Monty Cook making $10,000 a month to this? Or is Monty
Yeah.
Cook
Yeah.
making
It is crazy to think about, like, because I know my own numbers, and I've had authors privately send me a message, because I publish my numbers on Facebook. I'll tell
right,
anybody, I don't care. And I've had authors publicly, privately send me, hey, you edged me out, so I know they're in the neighborhood, right?
right,
Or yeah, or you almost got me, or stuff they'll tease me.
right.
But
I said, I know
some of these guys, yeah,
money's being made. I know that, and I'm amazed that once again that 5e is selling so well. I, it's like
yeah, 5e is the 800-pound elephant in the room. It's just it's the big donkey, right?
right, and and I always go back just like, well, if this is what they were selling at 5e, what was 3.0 like? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea.
it's like
You
was
can't even.
half, or I mean, but people are like, oh no, 5e is sold so much better than everyone expected, and they're just like, well, what does that mean? And digitally, what does that mean?
Right. Well, I know, just generally speaking, for Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, 5e has just blown everything out from previous, even with inflation and everything. It's just like monster topped everything before. So they're doing something right. I mean, they must have,
But,
like I can. So here's my stories. I played first edition and AD&D, and then I never played second. I never played three. Never played 3.5. I did. I took like a 20-year break, and I came back in fourth edition, and I liked fourth edition until I found fifth edition, and then I realized, wait, I didn't want to play WoW on the tabletop like fourth
right,
edition was. Fifth edition to me is the perfect game. I mean, people will argue that it has flaws, but I really like fifth edition, so much so that I kind of just ignore everything else. But
wow.
that's done me personally well, because I'm not distracted by anything. I just focus on 5e fantasy grounds. I keep my head down. I do my thing. I
I
help
mean,
everybody as much as I can, and I just keep going. Yeah.
well, I mean, you have kind of picked the perfect spot. I mean, not alone with just you picked the most popular game. Great. you've also picked a niche in that game that no one else seems to want to even approach, which is
Yeah,
surprising.
I do have competitors though. There are people out there doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, but I mean, are they doing it really as well as you? I mean, let's be honest. Let's
Well,
be
I mean, I'm not. Who's for me to say?
right.
Show me your numbers. We'll see.
I'll show you the numbers. What, you crazy? That's crazy talk. What, it's
But
like,
I have, we like. There's one person in particular who's a sort of a friendly competitor,
right.
frenemy or whatever, and I don't know his numbers, and he's only been doing it for about half as much as I have. But I mean, he publishes constantly, so he must be doing something right. So he just keeps
Well, I
kicking
mean,
stuff out.
there might be just so many people too. Because I mean, how many people are actually publishing on the DMs Guild?
Yeah, I want to say that that's like 5 or 6 thousand at least.
See, those are ridiculous. Come on, those are ridiculous numbers. Come on, 5,000 publishers,
I
five
mean,
thousand.
if not way more,
Well,
right?
and then you think it's like, okay, let's just let's do with the 80-20 rule. Okay, let's just imagine the 80-20 rule. So out of that five, you got maybe 1,000 that are really making it,
Yeah,
and out of that 1,000, maybe 100 who are just blowing it out of the water. I mean, they're the
yeah,
1% of 1%. They're ridiculous. They're gonna, if they're smart, they can retire on this money.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's my plan. But the what I've like we were talking about before, they don't they're very tight-lipped. OBS and WotC, they don't tell you anything, and I've never even got one email or one acknowledge. I'm not.
All right, now we're back to semi-normal. After that rude interruption of my bad computer skills,
I
where we
don't remember what we were talking about when it got cut off.
money and like I know money and how many people are above us, and that's where we were.
Oh yeah, like wishing that DM's Guild would
Give us all the
tell
stats.
people, where, like, just tell me where I am. How am I doing? Oh, I think what I was saying was, I've never, no one's, I haven't got a gold watch. I haven't, no one's even sent me an email or even acknowledged me that it's like, unless I wasn't cashing the checks, I wouldn't even know I was publishing there. So they really don't say anything. There's no encouragement.
Yeah,
And I'm not saying I need it, but it would be awesome if I
you know,
had anything.
well, I think it's funny that you, myself, I know of several guys who feel the same way. They're like, hey, what are we doing here? We've been with you guys for a long time, and it's like we're pulling teeth for information, like
Yeah.
all the time, and it's like this is ridiculous. Why are we pulling so much teeth just to get some basic information? I just want to know. I just want to know. I just
Well,
want to
to,
know.
to to be honest, I've never actually come out and asked for it. But I only think because I think if I said I want, show me the back end, they're gonna be like, get out of here. You're not
Right.
gonna see anything.
It's like, look, let's not kill the golden goose, but I would like some improvements. I would like some basic
Yeah.
improvements. I would, I one of my biggest little gripes, and I think this is silly, but it's just my thing. I love knowing where I sell, but it doesn't really tell me really where I sell. Like you'll see, like this product sold with this product, but it'll be on some pages I've never heard of, and I'm like, why am I trying so hard to find these pages? Just show me directly. Hey, you have a product that sells. You have a product that sells very well together. We're gonna make an automatic bundle of this because this is selling so well together. You
Yeah.
know, and just like
Yeah, they do. I mean, over the last 5 years, they have added some stuff like, you'll people who bought this also bought these. They added that.
but it's like it should be
Um,
more. It should be more. Not just telling my customers, telling me as a publisher, hey, here's a guy that you sold product with. Here's all the products you sold and they've sold. And maybe not numbers, just like this is sold very well with this product. You guys should maybe do something together. Let's
yeah, yeah. I
stuff.
mean, that would be nice for people. I mean, listen, any information, no matter how small anybody thought it was, the more information you have about sales and things that work and things that are better than others, and if they could just tell us, we would eat it up. I know every creator would be like, gimme, 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 gimme. But I guess they got, they only have so many people working there, and what their priorities are. And
And I get that, and I'm not gonna lie. I've always been surprised there's not been another competitor in the market. And I mean a viable competitor.
oh
It's
yeah,
it's like they assimilated their competitor. So it's like,
yeah,
you know, I remember RPG Now and Drive Through and the difference there was.
and now they're
And
just the same. Yeah, they're
right,
all, yeah,
and it's like and it's hard to explain to people. It's like when I was on, hardcore in 2006, 2007, 2009, it was very different than it is now. It is night and day difference.
Yeah.
And like I said, I used to focus on, we're going to do D&D stuff. And then I was like, well, let's do some D20 modern. Well, let's do some science fiction. Well, let's do art. And I just branched out into a lot of different things that I just liked. And I picked everything I liked. Said, if I like it, I'm going to do it. If I don't, whatever. And I've kind of focused on that. And I've gotten away from, I need to build certain things to make money. I mean, you specifically have said, Fantasy Ground, that's where the money's going to be. That's a good place to be at.
Yeah, for me,
Right.
it is. I mean, but I chose Fantasy Grounds, and here's the thing: Fantasy Grounds has, maybe 200,000 users, maybe, and so that when you compare that to 20 million D&D players,
Right.
that's like a tenth of 1%, whatever the hell the math is. But Fantasy Grounds users are very loyal and they're hungry for stuff. So every time we publish a new title, if it's a part of the team efforts and the extensions or whatever, those get eaten up. They'll sell 50 copies in a day and just keep going for like gangbusters. And then all of the conversions that I do for other people, like I said, if they're tool-ish or if they're niche things about D&D 5e but not an adventure, they'll sell. And then even the adventures sell, but they're slower paced, but they
Well,
all sell. I mean, I don't have a title that has 0 sales. It's not a thing.
okay. Then here's the
Yeah.
question. Let me get to the nuts and bolts. All right. I got an adventure. I put out an adventure with you. I do it to Fantasy Grounds. I should expect to sell how many per day? 5?
So
2?
10% of what your PDF sells.
Okay. And if
Yeah,
they,
that's pretty close to a really good. I mean, it's going to vary here and there, but over the course of 5 years, I've calculated that like if you sell 100 copies of your PDF, you'll sell 10 of the Fantasy Grounds.
okay. And what if they go at the same time? Still the same kind of numbers? It just happens to be
Yeah,
that way?
I've there's a lot of authors that are very adamant. And first of all, I get into cover conversations with people. People pay $1,000, $1,500 to create a cover. Covers don't mean shit. I have all my covers are fucking. Well, sorry, I swore. I don't know if we can swear, but
That's
you
all
can
right.
bleep it out. All my covers are one solid color. Like the covers don't mean anything. And I have authors come to me, oh, I paid $2,500 for this cover, man. It's awesome. And yeah, it's awesome, but it doesn't mean anyway. So the answer to your question is, what was your question, Lewis?
That
I got
cover
upset.
that cover really got to me, but I have to admit, I used to be like, oh no, the cover is the beautiful thing. And then I started doing the mastermind. I'm like, no, we're gonna do one cover, change some name, and that's it. And that's become my
Yeah.
thing. And I realized it's like covers really don't sell.
No,
They're,
I'll tell you what sells: content.
is it
I mean,
cool?
make
There you go.
something and make it really good, and not only make it good, make it the best you can, and it's gonna sell, you know.
Okay, so
And
have you built a fan base, or even better, is it possible to really build a fan base on DM's Guild, an actual legitimate,
yes,
like you're gonna
so
put your own brand kind of scenario?
yeah, so I'm a unique brand because I was first to market with Fantasy Grounds, and so Fantasy Grounds people know Rob Twohy. If they don't, if there's Fantasy Grounds users that have never heard my name, which is very possible and happens quite often, because all 200,000 users don't know me,
Right,
maybe like 5 or 10,000 do. But for people that don't know me, it's just because they don't really play Fantasy Grounds that often, or they don't go to the forums, they don't go to the Discords,
right.
so they're not really looking for stuff. But my name is a brand. Now, as far as PDF authors, I also know that there's at least 10 or 15 people's names I can name that are definite. Like they'll publish something, people will buy it just because that name is on it. Yeah.
MT Black, that's the guy.
MT Black,
Right, yeah,
Jeff Stevens, Patrick. I don't want to name names because
right,
I'm going to leave somebody off. But MT Black is probably the most well known because he also publishes with Wizards.
right. And
And some of those Guild Adept guys that are in there, they actually have legit deals like James Intercost. I mean, you could go on and name these names.
right.
But yeah, and I've done work with those guys because they don't know Fantasy Ground, so they'll come to me and go, Rob, do this thing for me, and I crank it out, and we split the commission, and everybody's happy.
Right.
So yeah.
And well, I mean, so if you're a new guy, fresh, new, we're talking, let's say you got 3 products out. We're talking brand new, doesn't know anything. Here's a tough question. I'm gonna say it in the nicest way possible.
All right, go for it.
New young guy, he wants to blow you out of the water. He wants to be, or even worse, wants to be the next you. What would you tell him to do to be the next you? Like, what's the first, like, good first three steps? Like, do this, do this, do this.
So, um, you mean as for this very specific thing that I do?
No, no, no. I mean, in the sense of actually getting onto DM's Guild and selling. Like, what is?
Oh, well, so I'll answer that the best I can. See, I'm not an expert on that because I do a very specific thing where I take already pre-created material and turn it into fantasy grounds.
But you know what? But you already know it's going to sell too. Sometimes you see stuff you're like, oh, that's going to sell.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
So
no,
if you were a person who'd never published before, and you said, I want to try to make my go at, I want to take a run at the DMs Guild. What do I do? I would say create something that is not an adventure. For example, a bestiary, some new classes, new archetypes, new races, new spells, that type of thing,
wait a
and
minute.
put that up there.
You're trying to tell me that people want more new spells, even though there's about 1 billion new spells out there.
I mean, don't ask me to explain it, but yes.
Okay.
New classes, new races, new archetypes, new skills, new equipment, new magic items. People eat that shit up. They just eat it up. Because don't listen, the Dungeon Master's Guide has like 400 magic items. That's not enough.
Right.
People want more.
It's like, I'm one of those people. I'm like, why do you need? Okay, monsters.
Yeah.
How many monsters are enough monsters?
Infinity, I think, is the answer, Lewis, to that.
But I
Because here's the problem I've heard from people, and this has nothing to do with DM's Guild. This is just D&D. So my players know all the monsters. They already know what their stats are. Yeah, well, go buy Monsters of the Guild, and then they ain't gonna know shit when they play because those monsters are all brand new. So, that's a product that I was involved with that had like 121 authors, and it was pretty awesome. Yeah.
I just
And
see it just drives me crazy because it's like, okay, at what point do you stop? You just reskin monsters. I mean, I'm a big believer in reskin monsters.
yeah, reskinning's a thing. I have neither done that nor know people that do it, but I know it exists.
Right.
But
So
people will catch that. People will be like, you just reskin something.
right. Well, it's like,
Yeah.
I think, I always said, if you have the right description and what was it? Somebody used the monster. What was it? I can't remember. Was it Lava Babies or somebody did a monster that was well kind of known, but he made it look totally different. He said, looks like this, and the stats were exactly the same, but people were freaked out by it. And he's like, same monster, same exact monster.
Yeah, so there's a guy that does Monster Manual Expanded on the DM's Guild,
Right.
and he basically takes existing monsters, but then does versions of them that don't exist that are either higher or lower CR and whatever. And people eat that shit up. It's a really good seller. And he just sells it like, I don't. So here's what I tell people. So first of all, remember I told you I used to be the data entry guy. My first 3 years of DM's Guild, this is how I became a success. 16 hours a day, 7 days a week for 3.5 straight years. And then I said, okay, I can't do it anymore. But by that time, I had other people working with me, and I sort of had a system going. So now I put in maybe 2 to 5 hours a day, maybe.
Right.
So, but that's to keep the whole machine going. So, what was my point? I'm not even able to understand how I cash a check. I can't remember anything. Yeah. What? I really did just lose my point. I'm so sorry.
We're talking monsters, reskinning.
Monsters.
Yeah, well, reskinning the same.
Yeah, we're working, but I was getting to like how. Oh man. Well, I have to just apologize to anybody who's watching this now or in the future because it's over. I just don't even remember what
No,
you're
cursing out right now. They're cursing your name. You basically that was $1 million idea right there.
And we lost it.
Yeah.
But yeah, but back to your question, what should new people do? If you have to get it out of you, if it's burning your heart and your soul, and you have to create an adventure, do that. But if you're trying to do something that people will buy that isn't isn't what the mainstream, isn't what 95% of it is. Make something that's not an adventure, but that still pertains to 5e. That's my best advice I can give to somebody.
I would just assume that it's all been done. It's like, what new thing?
Yeah, there's no new idea, but there are new nuances to those ideas. Because out of all the things you can make, there's adventures, there's all the parts like we talked about, spells, magic items, NPCs, all that stuff. And then there's some people are good at translating, like taking something from 4th edition and making it into 5th edition.
Right.
So there's that too. But you got to be careful because it can't be, the terms of service say that you can absolutely do that, but it has to be different enough that you're not, because on the DMs Guild, you can't publish 4th, 3rd, 2nd
Right.
you can't do that, right? And so, but yeah, if you have an idea about that, taking something from an older edition and making it a good example is Vodcard, one of the guys on my team, Jason Eastman. He's doing the Dragonlance adventures, but in Faerun. So he took them out of that setting and made them in Faerun, and he calls it Dragonlances with an S. And he checked with DMs Guild. He asked them, and it's all fine. Yep. So he does. So he does it so that you can play Dragonlance in 5th edition, which is really cool. And so he sells those. Yeah. So it's just, you got to get an idea and listen, if I had ideas to give people, I would just do it myself. I wouldn't give it to you. I'd do it. So you got to come up with an idea.
I'm a big believer in creating your own worlds, developing all that kind of stuff, and then putting that kind of stuff out. And I've always been that guy. So
yeah,
Guild is kind of tough for me because it's like,
right, because of their restrictions for
right.
It has to be Faerun, Ravenloft,
right.
Eberron. Yeah.
And I only have two things for Ravenloft. Two things. I have 2 adventures. There's a start already.
Well, listen, let me give you a little hot tip. You probably already know this, Lewis. The next book coming out in May is Ravenloft.
I know.
And people will go to DMs Guild and type in the word Ravenloft, and there's your stuff if you put it up there. So there you go.
I tell people I've got to get someone to do it for me. But it's really the first one. It is a simple idea. It is literally a hostage situation. This person,
I like it.
Oh, it gets even crazier. This person is rushed into this church. Has been like part of the church is burnt, of course. It's in Ravenloft. This guy comes in. He seems like he's gone crazy. He was attacked by a vampire. He wants to get basically he's been bitten. He's all worried he's gonna turn into a vampire. And the priest is like, okay, let me see what I can do for you. He's there with like a semi-full church. Doesn't work out. The guy goes ballistic, kills most people in the church, locks all the doors, and you've got to rescue the priest.
Yeah.
And of course,
if you put that out right around the time that Ravenloft comes out, it's gonna just automatically, just because of the word Ravenloft, you're gonna get some sales. Yeah, for sure.
That's it. I think it sounds crazy. I think it sounds crazy. But it's like people seem to want to buy it, and I keep saying, oh, maybe I should do this. Maybe I just got a 5e guy. Here's the stuff we've written up, convert it.
Do it, yeah. And those guys are easy enough to find. Here's the thing too that I would say to anybody, especially somebody new: if you've got an idea, just do it, because who cares? Even if it doesn't do anything, as long as you have the time,
right?
As long as you have the time to spend to do it, you're not losing anything. So, if you bang out 1,000 titles, you're going to sell something. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean,
and the cream does rise to the top. Like people, you often hear people, these muckety muck authors complain about, oh, well, the quality of somebody else's stuff isn't as good. Well, the cream rises to the top. You don't have to worry about that.
Right. Well, people always complain about that too. It's like, it's not as good as somebody else. I learned a long time ago, it isn't what you think is good. It's what people are willing to pay you to say it's good. If people want money, that's what's good.
But I mean, even if you rank the 30 adventures that Wizards has put out since 2014, if you rank those, some of them aren't as good as others. But if you love the game, you buy them all and you have fun. And maybe your favorite's Princes of the Apocalypse, and maybe you don't like Tales from the Yawning Portal, or vice versa. Whatever. But everybody has different tastes. It's like, when I was a stand-up comedian, I didn't worry about people that didn't like my act. Because you can't go on stage and hold a microphone and expect 100% of everybody to like you. Somebody's going to not like it. So I just got over that. And I told you before, there's some Rob Twohy haters out there on the DMs Guild. Yes.
Oh, well, that's the. I mean, look. I love people who hate me. That gives me energy. That really,
Yeah,
I feel
I'm the
like that.
same way.
Oh, I'm like, yes, yes, let the anger flow through you. Yes.
Yes,
You
let
know,
it flow through me.
it's horrible, but I love it. You know, I like tell people, I don't try to start fights, but I don't have a problem fighting. So that, I mean, that's, oh, I mean, it is. And I'll
Oh,
say,
I'll cut a bitch. Don't you worry about me.
I describe it like, look, I understand this industry is very, very niche, very, very clicky. There's certain groups, and there's certain groups I'll never be part of. And
Yeah.
it took me a long time to really understand that. But now I kind of revel in it. You know, it's like,
Yeah, but that's probably any business or any part of entertainment, movies,
oh yeah,
radio, television. You know, it's always that. You're somebody that works in an office that's an insurance company. It's the same thing. Clicky,
yeah.
boss, whatever. That worker, this worker, the new guy, the temp,
It's like,
right? So it's always like that. You can't. I mean, I don't mess with those dynamics because
I
it's
think
not.
it's
You can't
so
control it.
weird because, like, once again, we make fun things.
Yeah.
You know, I may not like you, but it's like I can at least find something I enjoy what you've done. You know, I mean, to truly hate somebody, yeah. I mean, come on, dude.
I know of one
Comic book.
particular person that is not a fan of mine, but buys almost everything I put out.
Now that's a great hater. That's a great.
Yeah.
I hate you.
They might be looking for stuff like, click, what's wrong with this? You know, I don't know, but it's really funny. Yeah. But I mean, you know, it's like being a politician or being a clergyman, being anywhere that you're in front of the public. There's going to be people that hate you. You can't worry about that.
Yeah.
You know,
I
let them
just,
hate.
I guess, it's like I just like that. I just want to be good enough where I get the people that hate me to want to work for me. That's the level I want to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, you two have been converted. Yes, give me that. So,
Well, that's the other thing. I'm a big Windows guy, right?
right.
But I have Apple Watch, I have iPhone 12, I have
Oh,
iPad Pro. Fuck Steve Jobs. I
see,
hate Apple,
but look, see,
but these are good products.
look, I've done the Google. I'm a Google guy. They got me. I finally changed my telephone network to Google Fi.
Oh, is that
I'm
right?
like, yeah, oh yeah. They had me. I like, first of all,
Well,
free.
that's what happened to me. I used to work for a cell phone company because when you're not a celebrity but you're a comedian in Los Angeles, you have to have a day job. So I worked at the cell phone company, and when iPhone came out in whatever it was, '06, they gave us iPhones, right? And I was like,
Right,
oh. And then now I've got iPhone 12. I get a
right.
new one every year. I can't
They
help it.
got you. They got you.
Yeah, but I wouldn't ever use a Mac though. I'm not an
Oh,
Apple computer guy. I
yeah,
just
I just
am. I'm just too
no.
restricted.
Yeah,
But my point was is that I hate Apple. I hate it, and then I just give them money every year because I can't not, right?
that's a lot of hate. That's a lot of hate to give.
Yeah, yeah. And I had a liver transplant, legit, and Steve Jobs paid for his. He's dead anyway. But yeah, pay for your liver and then die of pancreatic cancer, whatever. He knew what he was doing. But yeah, it's so funny. I have a funny story about Steve Jobs. When I was 17, this would have been in '83. I'm 55. Uh, he had the Apple IIe,
Right.
and I wrote him a letter, and I said, "Dear Steve Jobs, my name is Rob Twohy. I'm a high school student. 2E / E 2E Apple IIe. Could you send me a free computer?" And I had this for the longest time. I had it framed. I lost it in a move, but I had it framed. His response in handwriting, it just said, "Nice try, kid. Jobs."
That's still pretty
And
awesome.
I
You
was
went
like,
for it.
and in 1983, I didn't know how big that was.
Of
And so I like threw it, and then like
course.
20 years later, I framed it because I'm like Steve Jobs,
Right.
and then I lost it. Yeah,
See. All
but
right.
so fuck Steve Jobs.
A lot of anger. See, look, we're so angry. We're so angry.
We're
What?
very angry men.
We
Yeah.
make games. We should be happy. We should be happier. All right. So okay, then let me ask here's some more quick stuff.
Okay.
If people want to work with you, since now watching this lovely video and they've seen this,
Yes.
I want to work with them because I want to be rich, or at least not broke.
Yes.
What can I
So,
do?
um, if you are a person who makes things for the DMs Guild specifically that are PDFs, and you would like me to have me or my team convert that to Fantasy Grounds, all they would have to do is just email me, and we can give out my email, and then I'll explain to you. I have a whole PDF written up of how the whole process works. So I just send that to you. You read it, and you go, I agree or disagree. and it's as easy as that. And it doesn't cost you anything. And then we cut up the commissions, and I explain all that. As far as working on the team, if you want to be a conversion specialist, or if you create your own extensions or modules or things for Fantasy Grounds that you think that would be for sale, that you would want to try to sell, you can do that on your own. You don't need me. But if you want to come and have me plug it into the machine and stamp Rob Twohy on it, which does help and is worth something, then you can contact me and we can talk about that as well.
All right. So how can they contact you? What's the easiest way?
Yes, my email is my name, rob.twohy@gmail.com. Last name is TWO, like the number 2, HY, rob.twohy@gmail.com. Or they can send me a instant message on Facebook. I'm very approachable. So if you're on Facebook, you can send me a direct message.
I can tell you very much so. Because I said, hey, you want to do a video? You're like, sure, let's do this. So
Let's do it. Nobody ever asked me on a show. I actually have a show on Sunday nights myself, but I never get asked on other people's show because, like I said before, Lewis, people hate me.
Don't feel bad. Feel the energy, eat it up. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Keeps you warm.
And I appreciate you reaching out, and I was very happy to come and talk to you.
No, like I said, like when this thing first started, all these 5e guys were calling me the devil. When I knew, that's what I was like, this is a good thing. I gotta see what else I can talk about. And it's like, oh,
yeah.
I was like, this Rob guy's being friendly. Something must be wrong with him. So now,
there's something totally wrong with me. How dare I be friendly?
It's like, friendly guys, nah. This is pylon moment. So like, oh, okay, let's see what's going on. So I think, just like I said, thank you very much for coming on. I do appreciate it. Let me see. Is there any other questions? Any other secrets you should tell people? Like,
I would back to me. I make my numbers public every year or so. I put it on Facebook. How I'm doing, and I'm happy to answer people's questions. But I would say that the biggest thing, and I tell my team all the time. I tell team members of my team to just don't get discouraged. Your numbers might be low. Your numbers might be slow. But you got to remember, anything you put on the DMs Guild is gonna trickle in pennies for quote life. Like as long as you live, as long as the DM Guild lives, as long as WASI doesn't blow up, as long as Hasbro doesn't go out of business, which none of this should happen. But residual income is nice. Even if you're making $1 a day, I mean that's something, right? And it's forever. Whatever forever means to any of us.
Right. But hey.
But I would say just, don't give up and just be positive. And I mean, in 2016, when I made 55 cents and the next day I made 13 cents, I thought, this might be something that makes me a couple bucks a month. And I close on my new house on March 11th. So there you go.
My favorite words.
It can be done.
Well, I can tell people my speech, like, look, back in 2002, I paid for my first car with the PDF sales.
Yeah, I mean, look, yeah, and I have people who, like, one of my team members, she said she made some money, and she made enough money that she withdrew it, and her and her husband built a fence that had fallen down from a windstorm. And she goes, that's not what I planned to do with it, but I was so happy to have it. And a lot of guys just say, hey, I leave that money in there, and then I just buy D&D shit with it. I just turn it all around, put it back into yeah. So, you can make thousands of dollars or you can make tens of dollars. It doesn't matter. As long as you're having fun and you've got some income coming in, doesn't matter how big or small it is. Unless you go crazy and be like me and put in 16-hour days for 3 years, then you too can be successful. But you don't have to do that. You can just have fun and make it a hobby.
It turned out pretty well. I mean, your hobby is, you got a great
I'm okay with it. So far, so good. I'm waiting for it to all blow up because everything always does. I'm a little.
Look, that's the best part. And the funny part, even if it blows up, I mean, I remember we've had 3 blow-ups on drive-through and RPG. I'm still here. It's like, hey, there's money to be made. Let's check it out. Let's see what's the worst that can happen. And you're making fun stuff, and people are enjoying themselves.
And I'll tell you, Lewis, one of the people think I'm blowing smoke up people's ass when I say this, but I will never say that I don't like money. I absolutely love money. But what's the best for me is when I get an email or somebody PMs me, sends me a direct message, and they say, hey, Rob, we're using your spell codings, and our games are so much better and faster, and thank you so much, and this is really helpful, and we really enjoy it. I literally, get choked up. That's my favorite thing is to have people tell me that they appreciate the effort rather than just giving me the money.
Thank you. You
Yeah.
know, that's I always appreciate your fan base. Your fan base always will be like, "Hey, man, I love your stuff. I keep supporting." And I'm just like what maniac is buying my stuff? I'm like,
Yeah, it is a little surreal sometimes.
you know,
But a lot, I've got 1,900 people on my Discord server, and and if they talk to me, I talk to them. I'm and I love it. They say, some people are just there to like, oh, fuck, I couldn't get this to work. How does it work? Okay, we take care of you. But some people will say, hey, Rob, I really appreciate your efforts and thanks so much. And I'm like, hey, that means so much to me. Thank you very much. I'm really happy to hear from people if they want to say anything to me.
it's crazy.
And it's so cool to know that because I was a stand-up comic because I wanted to make people laugh, and I got to do that, and it was really cool. And so this is a little different, but people still throw appreciation toward me, and it really means a lot to me because I'm a single guy. I don't have a family. I'm just sitting here in my house by myself, lonely. I'm in therapy. I did right before our show tonight. It came from my therapist because I'm lonely. I have to talk to her about it. But I'm so happy to hear from people. So
Hey,
even if you hate me, I want to hear from you. So.
Look, I tell you, look, I'm a single father. My wife passed away. Everybody knows my wife passed away through cancer. But I'll tell everybody, look, my life isn't all what I thought it was going to be. But I wouldn't trade anything up. I mean,
yeah. My life is not what I thought it would be either. But I would agree with you. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't go back and try to fix it.
I might move from Florida, but it's sunny year round. It's hard. I wear shorts.
What city?
Oh, you're gonna love this. I live right outside of Fort Lauderdale.
Oh my God, spring break. Maybe not this year, but other years.
I tell people.
No, I live as far away from you. I live in Spokane, Washington, right, so I live as far away.
It's like, do you know what sunlight looks like? I don't even think you know. I mean,
no, we don't have sun here. We just have darkness all the time.
So it's like, it's like I tell people, I would love to move away. I've been in 20 years. And it's funny because for a place so bright and sunny, we actually have an okay D&D crowd.
Yeah. A lot of guys I play with are in Florida, actually.
It's very weird. The guys down here we're hardcore players. I mean, I grew up in Connecticut, where winter we're gonna be playing, no matter what. But like here, it's like, oh, we can play year round. We can play.
Fantasy Grounds is based in Florida now.
Oh, really?
It used to be Kentucky, but it's Florida now.
Everybody's coming to Florida.
Yep.
Don't trust me. You ain't. The sunshine. Come with the sunshine.
I went to Florida in July of 19, and this was for a Fantasy Grounds event, the Unity Party.
Okay.
I won't be back. I will never go to Florida again.
Oh, wait a minute. Where was it in Florida? That's the first thing.
We were in Orlando.
Oh, okay. So in July, where it's almost probably the hottest time possible, with humidity probably about 90%.
Yeah, it was insane. So we stayed at an Airbnb, a couple of us, and I kept turning the air conditioner down, and they were like, you can't do that. And I go, well, what the hell are you talking about? Oh, it'll freeze up. I'm like, what kind of bullshit?
This is Florida.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh well, like born in Chicago, grew up in Connecticut, came down here. I can't do cold weather anymore. I can't. When it's.
Oh, I love the cold weather myself. Yeah, I can't do hot. I lived in Phoenix for 10 years, Los Angeles for 10 years. I don't know what the hell I was doing. Yeah.
I tell people, if it gets below 65, I'm putting on a sweater. I don't care. I don't care what you think about me. I'm putting on a sweater. It's cold. I am a warm-blooded person now, and that's just the way it is down here. Yeah, but the humidity, but trust me, that wasn't even bad. If you came in August, 100% humidity. 100% humidity at 3 o'clock every day it rains.
Yeah. So I did my basic training for the Army at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and we used to joke about the temperature and the humidity racing their way to 100 every day. Yeah.
Like, oh, this is crazy. And it's like,
oh, can't breathe. Oh, run 10 miles. I'm sorry. What?
But you were the best.
But you're 18, so you can do it, right?
Yeah. But like now you're like, oh, why would I? Oh no.
Oh.
That humidity gets to 100.
I gotta. If I watch a guy run, I gotta sit down and take a nap.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, sir. Well, thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Lewis.
An hour. I gotta cut this up and make this one big awesome video that people will appreciate. But thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it. Sorry for all the technical difficulties, but I think people will enjoy this video even more with all the craziness.
Good. I'm glad.
All right. You have a good night, and I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Oh, do you have something else you want to say?
No, I'm good.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Talk to y'all later.